We are recording. Scott Laverne, how are you today, mate?
I'm very good, thank you, Stu. Yeah, I'm all right.
Good, good, good. But we got introduced via a good friend of mine, Ben Berlin,
Yeah,
who'd had discovered your music through his friend Andy, and Ben was like, "Look, you got to check this out," and I did, and he was like, "It's got to be a good guest." And well, we've already been chatting for 10 minutes already, just sort of chewing the fat of growing up in very similar areas. And so I'm looking forward to, because I don't actually know what your song picks are yet. Normally, I kind of get a bit of a heads up about what they're going to be. So I'm going into this one blind, which I quite like. Um, so let's kick things off. And Scott, if you can tell me the song that you regard with the greatest ever intro, please.
I mean, it's so difficult. My first. I mean, I'll give you the actual answer I've got just because
All right.
it's the best memory I've got. Because there's like, so it's One Vision by Queen, and
Okay.
yeah, and I went through so many. I was even thinking about doing a Michael McDonald tune, um, but yeah, I had like Black Sabbath, War Pigs, and like the Cult. Um, she sells Sanctuary.
No one ever chose that, and I don't know why. Like, it's
Yeah,
one of the best intros ever. Like,
unbelievable.
and it still sounds the bollocks now.
Yeah, like the Smiths, this charming man. Just ones that make you go, yeah, like as soon as it comes on. But One Vision, I just because my memory of it is me and a mate when I was 17 used to take him back home, like, and we used to fucking stick on the intro at the start of his dad's road, and then and I used to like. I only had a 1 litre Renault 5, and then we used to just like he used to just like get as fast as we can down his road and then pull up the handbrake as the song kicked in. And yeah, we used to do that pretty much every night. Um, yeah. So yeah,
Fantastic. Fantastic.
it's just amazing, like the build up and as the tune comes in. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how you approach the songwriting and how much attention you put on the intro itself in a world where we are very much sort of saturated um, with music, where you've got to kind of sort of hook them right from the beginning, because you're in a world where everybody's got every song in the world literally on their telephone. And why you say that, I'm not being rude, but I've realised my laptop is not plugged in at the wall, so I've just got to put my charger in while you tell me this. So I'm listening.
Yeah, go on. To be honest with you, I don't put much thought into it. I'm not. Yeah, I don't have great intros. There's a few songs I've got that have got good intros, but it's all accidental. I tend to write the song and then do everything quite, I guess, intuitively in the studio. I'm not like a trained musician. Um, so yeah, I tend to just do it quite intuitively, really. I've got one song called Lord of Citrus that's got quite a Captain Beefhearty type intro, and that one it was a mistake. I just basically started playing the song, but in the wrong key, and left it in there, and it sounded all right. And I don't put much thought into it. I think because my songs are mostly stories, um, I just really tend to keep it simple. A lot of my songs are only two chords as well. Um, yeah, but yeah, so I don't put much thought into intros really. If there's something comes up in the studio, I'll do it. If not, it's like that's it really. I do think about like I guess like texture or like the build up, I guess to a certain extent. But yeah.
You keep saying studio. Do you write in the studio, or do you sort of like, what's the sort of writing process for you?
No, I don't write in studio. I wish I wish I had enough money to like do 2 months in the studio. I just write at home. Like normally, I write songs. Well, wherever I am, I'm always recording ideas. But when it comes to writing stuff, I normally sit in front. I'll watch. I'll put on like a film that I know really well. Then it's like it takes the pressure off. Like I am writing songs now, because that's like like but adds a bit. Whereas if I'm just watching Pulp Fiction, um, with my book and my guitar, it's like I think that frees me up from like the pressure. But yeah, I tend to do it different ways. Really, I sometimes write for like free write, or write a load of weird shit down, and that will feel like that could be a song. Uh, and then sometimes I just do the sit with the guitar, like skibbity dibbity dab doop doop, and then
Yeah.
put words to it after if it's got a good thing. But I'm normally pretty good. If I pick up, like, yeah, I picked up a guitar the other day and started playing something, and I just started singing. I got a boat. I got a boat. I got a fucking boat, and it was just about. I guess just about. I mean, it's just about the geezer that wants to let everyone know he's got a boat without actually telling them. By a jump around the shoulders, like the shoes he wears, one of them
Yeah.
corks on a key ring, and it just flew out. Um, yeah, so yeah, sometimes they just fly out, but yeah, it's my favorite bit. I just love writing. Like I always feel like the best song in the world just after you've, before they're written.
I love
Um,
what you said about the sort of putting on that, a film as like a sort of almost like a sort of gentle distraction from the enormity that you could put on yourself to, right, I'm now going to write a song. Like,
yeah,
just having that kind of sort of wistfully sort of playing in the background as a constant sort of, gentle distraction, I guess. I like that. That's really cool.
yeah, because it is like it's weird to create creativity, isn't it?
Mm,
I do think there's so much everyone talks about it, don't they? Like Tom Waits gives my best like a description of it. Like it's like fishing, and you've got to be really quiet to catch the big ones. Like you got to just listen, like sit and wait and
mm,
listen. And I don't know if it's like people are like, oh, they come from the stars or whatever, but it's like it comes from deep, you know, in your brain, from because it's like it's often based in some kind of fact, some kind of emotion you felt, and
mm,
I do think it comes from your subconscious in a way. Um, so yeah, so I think digging around in that
mm,
is a bit weird. Like, yeah, I remember the first because I used to just write songs when I was pissed, um, and I stopped drinking. And the first time I started writing songs, I just felt really weird doing it. Felt really like anxious and nervous, and it's like, and I spoke to, well, I spoke to a guy I knew that was also sober. He was a painter, and he was like, yeah, I couldn't paint for a while because it just opened up this like weird, so almost like a drug. Like it felt like I was on drugs. It was, yeah, it's quite a weird thing. Yeah, I'm not eloquent enough to understand it or to talk about it really, but I don't analyze it in any way.
yeah,
It's just good to be able to do it, I think, isn't it?
absolutely. Tell me the first song you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please, Scott.
Yeah. So the first one I had for that was "Kids in America" by Kim Wilde. Because I remember sitting in my stepdad's car. He had a lockup in Canning Town, and and he drove. We went there. I was only little, and I remember just driving around. Drove around the city, and it was like it just come out probably like whenever it was. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, like life's really exciting, and it felt like yeah. But yeah, the one I chose is "Hello" by Neil Diamond.
Okay.
Um, yeah, just because it still makes me emotional now. Like the jazz singer, like I
Yeah.
can't watch it. I
Yeah.
think because my old man left when I was little, and
Right.
he was a singer, and he would come back every now and again. Do you know what I mean? And he looked a bit like Neil Diamond. He had that sort of like he looked a bit like a film star, my old man, and so yeah, he used to just do me in like his voice, and yeah, so yeah, it still makes me emotional now, really. The old Diamond,
Oh, what a film. What a film.
so good.
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah,
And yeah, I think like, I was talking to my kids about Neil Diamond the other day because the football was on and they now know Sweet Caroline, obviously, because everybody bellowing it everywhere, in every pub across the UK. And just trying to explain to them that like he's got a body of work and he has got some absolute crackers. That guy knew how to write songs, and yeah,
yeah,
so underrated, so underrated.
yeah,
Like,
massively. I mean, yeah, I guess he is underrated.
he's obviously very
Yeah,
popular, but I think as a songwriter, I think
yeah.
he just wrote some absolute crackers. And
Mm.
yeah, and I just don't think he kind of ever gets mentioned when people are talking about prolific songwriters. And I think he's up there. I really do.
I mean, just the tunes on that album, that jazz singer, like "Love on the Rocks," and like,
oh,
yeah,
mate.
that is a tune, and like on the boats and on the planes.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
I mean, let's talk about Sexy Kim Wilde as well, because I think as a kid, I'm hearing kids in America, like, and I'm 51, Scott, and so I think I probably would have been, I don't know, I think that come out in '82, so I would have been like 9 or 10 whenever it come out, the very early '80s, and seeing this beautiful woman on Top of the Pops, like singing about America, and obviously when you're 9 or 10, and films like Star Wars and E.T. and Goonies and all of these amazing films are coming out, you know, America was just the most exciting thing in the world, wasn't it? It was like, oh, everything
yeah,
cool happens in America, all the cool sweets, all the cool films, all the cool music. And you've got Kim Wilde just singing about kids in America. And I remember just thinking, I thought she looked really beautiful. I remember thinking, oh, she looks really tough as well. And like the rest of the
yeah,
band, which was her brother, and I don't even know if her dad was on stage with her because they all wrote it, didn't they? And and they all just looked like really tough. And I remember thinking, like, this is such a cool song. And she just looked great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I had that same fascination with America. Like, I guess like it was the '80s, wasn't it?
Mm.
Like it all just seemed so much better than Essex, didn't
Well, it was.
it?
Absolutely. Like, yeah. I remember just being sort of like, you know, squeezed into like the little hall in our primary school, and having that, that great big sort of container of a TV wheeled in, and we all had to watch like the space shuttle take off. And I remember just like they'd sort of zoom in on all these kind of like excitable Americans that were at the space center, like watching it, and they all had like really cool like caps on and sunglasses. And I remember just thinking, sort of looking around at my teachers in like then kind of sort of brown patches on their elbows, thinking, "Fucking hell!" Like, I really wish I was one of the kids in America. It looks so much more fun.
Yeah, I remember a kid at my no, one of my mum and stepdad's mates. They moved to America when he was like 10, and they come back a couple of years later. I was just so jealous,
Yeah.
like so jealous of him. Been living in California, I just hated him. He had all these stories, and he'd like, yeah, and he like had a girlfriend. You know what I mean? He just had, and he was really tanned, and he was like telling us all about the arcade games they had over there,
Oh,
and like he had these like trainers he couldn't get and stuff. I just, yeah, I think I've always had I think that still remains really. I've still got that thing about
yeah.
America,
Absolutely.
even though it's fucking mental.
Yeah, yeah. Don't scratch the surface because it ain't very nice.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely mental. But yeah, I mean, I've been there a couple of times. I do absolutely love it, but I've only been to New York
Yeah,
really.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I ain't been to like anyway. I was about to scratch the surface there.
Well, look, let's keep it in the formative years for track three,
Yeah.
and tell me the song that reminds you of your time at school, please, Scott.
I went for Kinky Afro, Happy
Nice.
Mondays. Yeah, just because it reminds me of being, it felt like the greatest summer of my life. I was 15 when that come out, I think. Yeah, I think I was 15, and I was quite a reclusive kid, and I just all of a sudden, at 15, I just sort of switched on, and it was like probably a combination of drugs and booze, really.
Mm.
But that summer, I was just had a girlfriend for the first time and just hanging about. I mean, mates, there was this older kid that used to nick mopeds, and we were just hanging about the streets all summer. And that Pills, Thrills, and Bellyaches come out, and yeah, just it still takes me back there. Being at school, maybe yeah, 14, 15. Yeah,
When would that
just
have
I
been?
mean,
90 or 91?
91.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember it being 91. It might have come out before that, but I had that cassette. Had it
Yeah.
on cassette, and yeah, it just went everywhere with me. So that's got a bloody good intro as well, actually.
Yeah, and one of the greatest opening lines ever as well, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. And Roetta's voice on that, he's phenomenal as well. I think,
Is that an underrated album? I feel like because I just think it's an absolute classic. Like, there's not a single tune on it that's not incredible. Like, I like their other stuff, but that is like it's like their Sergeant Pepper's. Like, I can't.
that was their crowning glory, wasn't it? Bellyaches, I
Yeah,
think, and I think that was at their kind of their peak. I think in regards to sort of commercial success as well. I think obviously Step On was a huge hit, and then trying to think what the other tracks were. Obviously Kinky Afro, and was Judge Fudge on Bellyaches?
no, it's not on
No.
there. Um, Loose Fit
Loose Fit,
was
of
on there.
course. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Holiday. That weren't a single though, was it? There is another one on there. There's another single. I can't think what
Lazy
it is.
Artist one on it, was it?
No, that's not on it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that is a cracking album, and I think at that point, like, it seems ridiculous when you see Shaun Ryder and Bez on Gogglebox now. Just fried, these fried old men, and
yeah,
to think, you go back probably more than 30 years now, and Shaun Ryder was one of the coolest people on the planet. Like,
mm,
he was just such a front man, so exciting, and at that point, him and obviously Ian Brown and Tim Burgess, they were just like, they were pop stars. That
yeah,
was what was, the biggest selling music at that point. It was so exciting to sort of pick up the enemy and see any one of them on the cover or the Inspirals. And it was just like, I was probably 17 then, and it was like beyond exciting. It was just like, oh, look, all the cool stuff's become the big stuff.
mm,
And for them sort of few years, sort of, post 89, indie music was everywhere, and it sort of died
yeah,
down again, I think, until maybe the sort of grunge thing, or even the sort of Britpop thing, to take it to a completely sort of stratospheric level. But yeah, it was absolutely fantastic, and I think Bellyaches is a fantastic record as well.
yeah. The other one I had was West End Girls, Pet Shop Boys. Just that just sticks in my head. Not a good memory of school, but I remember it was when we moved from Leigh-on-Sea to Ormchurch, and it was a very like abrupt move. My stepdad had got a job in Dagenham, and so we just moved from Leigh-on-Sea to Ormchurch, like in the middle of a term. It was fucking horrendous, but that was Christmas number one,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that was the other one. But
Oh, mate, I literally got tickets this morning to see the Pet Shop Boys.
oh really?
Yeah, I think they're absolutely incredible. I try and see them every time they tour, and
Happy Mondays, however, don't go and see them.
I've seen them a few times, and I've got some very mental stories of. I run a club in Essex, and
Now you do something at the toothbrush.
I've run a toothbrush for 32 years. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I had Sean, and I've had Sean twice, and I've had Bez once come and DJ, and Sean Ryder still delivers the kind of problems and trouble that you'd expect from Sean Ryder, not from somebody of his age, but from Sean Ryder, like clearing out the minibar and pissing off without paying the bills and things like that. Still incredible. And it's like, if you book Sean Ryder, you just got to kind of put a little bit aside in the bank to just go, it's probably going to happen because it's Sean Ryder. But yeah, a low point in my life was the first time he DJ'd, and and he wasn't in great. He didn't look too good then. I think he'd just come out of doing the jungle celebrity thing, and I was so excited to meet Sean Ryder because, like you, that album was huge for me, and I was
Yeah.
expecting someone very cool to kind of swagger through Gallagher-esque style across the dance floor and into the DJ booth, and essentially this little kind of like flump just kind of waddled in a white vest that was a bit too tight, and and just gave me this CD because I was so excited, Scott, to see him open this record box because I thought it's going to be like heaving with Hacienda Gold. And he had about four CDs in there. One was like classic driving gold, free with a Sunday Express. And he just gave me the CD and just went track four. And I thought, well, I've essentially paid you a lot of money to DJ, but you're just telling me what tracks to play. So I asked him if he'd sing a couple of like, basically, if he could just give it a little bit of twisting my melons over a track to see if he'd do that. And he obliged, but then he was trying to tell me that the mic was fucked, and I had this moment where I think all them kind of sort of teenage dreams of meeting your hero just come crashing down because he had this mic in one hand and this bottle of bud in the other, and he was just singing, twisting my melons into this bottle of bud, telling me that the mic was fucked, and I had to literally go and sort of cross his hands to sort of explain that he was singing into a bottle of lager and not the microphone. And he was like, "Oh, sound," and I was just like, "Oh, a little bit of me just died there, I think."
I mean,
Oh dear.
I guess it's like as it should be in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Sean Ryder.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about school, and because I think for any kid, the last thing you want to do when you're at school is change schools. That for me was like my idea of hell. Being sort of taken out of school and put into a school with a load of strangers and being that new kid. Like, tell me a little bit about that, and the
I
impact
mean,
that
I
that would have
get,
had on you.
yeah, a lot. I mean, I guess some kids would be all right with it, but I was not one of them kids that was all right with it. Yeah, I hated it. I was the sort of kid that had like one mate, one or two really good mates at school. So I had like, yeah, that was horrendous. I also went to so we moved from this school in Leon C. I was 9, and we went to this one in Ormchurch, and you didn't have to wear a school uniform at this new school. And so I went like, anyway, I just got the piss taken out of me from day one, basically. They was calling me Bambi because I had like really long legs and and massive feet. Like you're all out of proportion, aren't you, when you're a
Yeah,
kid? And yeah, so I just fucking hated it. So yeah, I moved schools. Like I went to 4 different schools in 4 years. I went there, and then I was
that's
getting bullied.
ridiculous.
Yeah, so I went there for a year or a year and a bit, and then I went to the local comprehensive, and I was getting bullied. So they sent me to this school in Chelmsford, um, and then they moved again, and then I went to a school in Brentwood. So yeah, so that was like between 9 and 13. I went to 4 schools, but then that's why it took me a couple of years to sort of settle down. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think I was a bit isolated anyway. All I did was my happy place was just making mixtapes at home
yeah,
and watching movies. So I just live with my head in the clouds anyway. I mean, I just couldn't. I was just really into having records at home and making mixtapes and just, you know, going to the local VHS rental place. So I just
yeah,
sort of lived in my own, and I was all right doing that really until I wanted to talk to girls.
yeah.
And then I was like, oh, I'm too shy to talk to girls. Fuck.
That's
So
it's normally around that point that like the Smiths start to kind of get to the front of your record collection. Like, it's normally around then that the Smiths have all the answers that you need if you're a little bit too shy to talk to girls. Did you, you said that you was happy, just watching, the VHS videos and making mixtapes. Obviously, there was a love of I guess creativity already, just putting together mixtapes. Did you know what you wanted to do with your, with your life when you was, at school?
I mean, not really. I mean, I don't know. I just didn't have the attention to start learning the instruments, but I did. My dad was a musician. Well, he played, yeah, he played instrument. My granddad was a musician as well, on my mum's side. Um, and so I sort of grew, big music fans, all my family. And I remember getting piano lessons when I was 12, and the woman said, there was this really posh lady, and she was like, oh, why do you want to learn the piano then? And I said, oh, so I was like way more Essex, and 'cause my mum does a really good impression of it. And I basically went, well, so when I grow up, I can play music in pubs. And
I'm just now picturing you like the Artful Dodger.
so yeah, I don't know. It was just a lifelong obsession. I don't know if I wanted to. Yeah, I didn't really want to do it until I realised I could sing
Hmm.
when I was about 17, really. Um, I just was obsessed with it and never thought, oh, I want to. I mean, probably I did. I wanted to be fucking Mick Jagger or Axl Rose or whatever. Um,
Did you like
yeah,
attention then?
God no, nah, hated it. Did not want anyone to look at me.
So how did you
Um,
find singing, like in front of people?
uh, well, the first time I'd done it, I was taking a lot of speed, and so and so all the social like nervousness had been stripped away by amphetamines. Um, And then the reaction I got from people was like, "Fucking hell, you can actually really sing." Like I could do a really good Jim Morrison. I had that like really good growl, and like
Yeah,
I was like, "Wow, I can sing like Paul Rodgers from Free." Um, I was like, "Wow, I've got a voice that I really, a voice that I love."
yeah,
And so, yeah, I mean, terrifying. I didn't do any gig. I was in a couple of bands in Romford, but we only did rehearsals. Never did a gig. We used to just get pissed and get stoned and play like Santana and fucking Jimi Hendrix. It was like, you know, um, as well as we could. But yeah, the first time I played like in front of an audience, I was a street musician in France, and absolutely terrifying. I think I had about four poos before I got my guitar out the case. I just couldn't even bring myself to do it.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, had a good reaction the first time, and yeah, just was like felt I'm pretty uncomfortable in social situations, but
yeah,
it's just it's a different thing. Like I guess you're in control of it, aren't you? It's like I think if you can, I always just think like I'm giving people what I get from music. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that I'm like what I'm giving you is like ha ha ha, but I just think I know I'm good at it. I know
yeah.
um, yeah.
Tell me the first record you remember buying from a record shop, please.
So yeah, so my mum gave me a choice when I was little. She was like, you can either have 50p a week or you can have a record, a 7 inch every week. And so I went for the 7 inches. So
Wow.
yeah, so I don't remember. I've still got them all. They're all a bit fucked. So I don't remember the first one that I got of that because it's all a bit of a mix when I was like 5 or whatever. It's like Happy Talking, Captain Sensible. um, uh, the theme tune from Minder, got that.
That's a banger.
I could be so good for you.
Such a
Oh my god,
tune.
it's such a tune. But the first one I remember buying with my own money, it's just a funny story. My dad moved to Hockley in Essex, and he got a new family, and I had stepbrothers basically, and one of my stepbrothers was the same age as me, and we used to. It was I remember it being summer, and we like bunk the train into Southend, and we had like 3 quid each or something. It's like let's go to the arcades and get some chips. Like 3 quid goes a long way when you're like
Yeah.
10, doesn't it? We did. Um, anyway, so we'd done all our money in the arcades, and we were like walking back up Southend High Street towards the train station, and I was like, I got a pound. I got a pound in my back pocket. And so I was like, let's go in our price. And I got My Mind Set on You by George Harrison.
Yep.
Um, which is fuck, what a tune that is.
Did you know
Um,
that's a cover?
yeah, I did. Yeah,
Like
quite gutted.
I was,
Yeah,
I remember thinking like George didn't write that.
I
Like,
know.
yeah.
His version is much better, but
Mm.
yeah, I was gutted when I found that out.
I only found out about a year
Um,
ago.
yeah, I don't. You talk about it on the Acceptable in the '80s. I think I'm sure
Or about that being a cover.
yeah, I'm sure
Yeah.
you get into that. But anyway, when I got back to me dad's, my dad was like, "Oh, did you get that incense for me, son?" And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Oh, I'll give you that pound to buy some joss sticks." I was like, "Oh, that's what that pound was for." So I was like, "I got this, Dad." I guess you couldn't buy incense in Hockley.
No, you'd have to go to Oh Yeah in Southend to get that. Like,
Yeah, probably what it
fantastic.
was.
Um, okay, right. I'm interested to know where clubbing was for you because if it was Romford, then maybe we clubbed in the same places. So for track five, the song that soundtracked your year's clubbing, please, Scott.
Yeah. So where is it? I think I wrote down three. I wrote down Valley of the Shadows, Origin Unknown.
Oh, what a song!
That is amazing. Dominator. I'm the one and only Dominator. But I put down Sweet Harmony by
Yeah,
Liquid, just because it was everywhere. It was in the sort of ravey clubs, and then it was like in the beard up clubs. Um, yeah, it just reminds me of them. But yeah, I used to go to Culture Shock at Hollywood's on a Friday, which was like no one was drinking in there, like on a
mm,
Friday. And then you go. I remember going to Hollywood's Friday and Saturday, and Culture Shock Friday. Everyone's just, no one's drinking, and everyone's like, like all like into each other and like meeting people. All right, mate. Like, oh. And you go there Saturday, completely different atmosphere. Everyone wants to kick each other in.
yeah,
Everyone's on the pool. Loads of geezers in muscle tops. I'm like, this is the same club but a different vibe
yeah,
altogether. That's the more if it come on Eileen kind of tribe, isn't it? I
yeah,
guess. Which like, it was all right as well. But yeah, we used to do yeah, like Bagley's and all those kind of things as well in London, and the I can't remember the names of some of them now, but yeah,
Bagley's was the first place that I got asked to DJ in one of the like it was like a little room. I only went there once to DJ, and it was like a small room right at the front, if I remember rightly.
yeah,
Uh, and we went there, and we was sort of DJing, kind of sort of. I guess it was sort of a bit of sort of soul-y, acid jazz stuff at the time. It would have been about 94, and around the time sort of all the Galliano and all that sort of stuff.
oh, I used to love all that.
And so we went down there to play some of that. And I'd never really experienced anything other than kind of high street, come on Eileen esque clubbing that you just mentioned, or indie clubs, because I was, running indie clubs. And I remember going into Bagley's and then going into the main room, and everyone was just like, "Hey, you right, man?" Like hugging me and stuff. And I was thinking, "Fucking hell, well friendly here." And
Mm.
and it took me about 5 minutes of just like wandering around to think, "Oh, no, hang on a minute, they're all
Mm.
off their fucking tits." I was like, "It seems so nice here. What a lovely atmosphere." And I was just thinking, it's really not how I imagine London clubbing to be. I thought it might be a little bit more fierce, but no. But yeah, obviously, it was my first time of thinking, "Oh, right, yeah, this is why they're trying to shut this shit down because everybody's really enjoying each other's company. It's lovely, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it was a good time. Yeah. I mean, did you used to go if you was doing into the acid jazz? You got the Blue Note in Hoxton Square.
I went to the Blue Note and with the same guy that I DJed with that night, and no, I went to not the Blue Note. I went to it was off of was it Tottenham Court Road, and it was Giles Peterson's night. Um,
Oh, okay.
I can't think, but I remember going in there. I never went to Blue Note, and the venue that was Blue Note. I've done loads of events at since, but yeah, Blue Note's got some history to it, hasn't it? I take it you've
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah, I used to go there. Used to go there a lot. So yes, but from 18 on, I was working in the city for a couple of years, so used to just walk there and go to the acid jazz jam nights, and it would
That
be
was
like
Eddie
people.
Pillar's night, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it'd be
Yeah,
people from Mother Earth and like Galliano and
yeah,
Corduroy and
yeah.
like great musicians. Um, yeah, went to Goldie's drum and bass night on a
Metalheads.
Sunday.
Yeah,
The Metalheads. Yeah, because you could like smoke weed in there, and like I mean, it was a wild place. I absolutely loved it. I used to just go there by myself sometimes.
yeah.
Um, if none of my mates are into it, but yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a documentary that come out maybe I don't know a year or two ago about Matt Dayton from Mother
I
Earth.
saw it. Yeah, love it.
No, I've not met anyone that saw it, and it's so fucking good, isn't it?
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
he's a genius. He really
He
is.
he actually is. Yeah.
And
His he's on my he's my seventh. I won't go into it because it's the
oh,
seventh.
amazing!
Yeah, because his first solo album is one of my favorite albums of all time, and no one fucking knows about it.
Yeah,
Like,
oh,
it's yeah,
amazing.
I love that. I've got a picture on my wall in my little studio in my garden, me and my mate with Matt Dayton, because we I saw him back in the day. I used to go and see Mother Earth, but we saw him like 2006 or something like that at the Jazz Cafe, and he was so humble and such a lovely bloke, and I was like pissed up, going, Villagers like the best album, and those like, oh, thanks, man. And it's like I just don't understand why it's not up there with like
Yeah,
the best sort of like folky kind of albums of all time. It's unbelievable.
yeah, yeah. It really is. We had Mother Earth come and play the Toothbrush. We had a spell around that time of booking all the acid jazz bands. We had JT. James has come down and played loads. We've had JTQ plenty,
Oh, cool. Yeah,
and
amazing.
he's just got back with the Prisoners, hasn't he? The Prisoners have been playing some shows in London.
Oh, really?
And, yeah,
Oh, cool.
Corduroy, yeah, had all of them. Yeah, that was a funny little scene. That. All
And
right.
it was like some of them were good, like Galliano. I remember seeing Galliano. I saw Mother Earth at like Astoria too. Like they used to would bring a big crowd, and I think I saw Galliano at like a bigger one. But then I remember like and then a couple of years later, I was like, oh, Galliano are playing somewhere in like Islington, and it was like, oh, there's only three people here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like the scene's over, I
yeah.
guess. It was like
Absolutely.
Britpop had taken charge.
Yeah, it was quite short lived, I think. Um, all right, well, let's go home, and I'm curious to know what you're going to call home, because it seems that you've been, quite nomadic. So for track six, I'm going to ask you to tell me, please, a favourite song from an artist from your home county, please.
Yeah, well, it's got to be Essex. I feel like it's home. And I did Google it because my first thought was got to be something Dr. Feelgood, but so
Oh,
I
really? That
Googled
was your
like,
go-to?
yeah, um, yeah, like milk and alcohol, just because I don't know. I was probably thinking of something cool, and
Mm.
but then I Googled it and found out that Procol Harum are from Southend, which I
What?
didn't. Yeah, which I did not know they were formed in Southend. Yeah. So White a Shade of Pale is like one of my favourite songs of all time. But the song I've chosen, Stu, is Eddie and the Hot Rods. Do anything you want to do because they're from
Oh, yes,
Essex.
please.
I just fucking love that song. It's like Essex Bruce Springsteen, isn't it? I just love it.
That's the best description. Yeah, it is Essex Bruce Springsteen. It is
Yeah.
that perfect moment in between sort of punk and new wave, and they just got it right. It's just got really good pop sensibilities in it, and it's
Oh, it's just heaven.
yeah, that's a cracker of a trunk. Oh
It's
god,
just perfect. It's like about escape. It's about like rebellion. It's just like I just adore that tune. Like I could play it 17 times a day and still like get off on it.
yeah,
I think I just adore it. But
absolutely.
there's loads of good Essex bands. Like I mean, because I've been texting me mates. I've been like I've got your questions. I copied and pasted and sent them to loads of people, and so we've all been like,
Yeah,
it's the sort of thing I do with me mates.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, most of them, a lot of them chose Blur.
really,
Which yeah, I like Blur, but I'm
yeah.
not as passionate about Blur as other things. But or Prodigy, one of my mates chose Prodigy. Um, yeah,
I think
yeah,
I'd go.
but
I think I'd go. Well, I don't know. huge Depeche Mode fan.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, my mate chose Depeche. Yeah, they're banging,
Yeah,
aren't they? Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know. Prodigy around 97, 98. I thought they were on top of the world, and they were. I think Hallett was just pushing boundaries with drum sounds and stuff like that. And Fat of the Land come out, it was like, what the fuck is this? And like, and then couple that with the live show, and Keith becoming a frontman. Oh
Mm.
mate, yeah, that was special. But
Yeah, I mean they're very unique as well, aren't they? Really. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I should have chosen Prodigy. I'm sticking with Eddie and the Hot
nah,
Rods
stick
because
with
it's
Eddie and
just
the Hot
like
Rods, mate.
it's closer to my heart. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like my band used to rehearse at Dave Vig's studio, and he was in the Hot Rods, and he was a very, again, when I said don't meet your heroes, I think he'd just become like a really pissed off old man that used to really hate other bands. He had this studio, and it had 2 floors, and it had like a little studio downstairs and a little studio upstairs. But every time you go there, we'd have another little sort of A5 postcard with he used to fine you if there was a fag butt on the floor. He used to get fined 5p a fag butt. And the
What?
whole wall was just full of these like little postcards of what you can and can't do. And it was just like, I thought this guy was a rock and roller. Yeah. And he built a little winch that he cut a little hole, like a little hatch in the upstairs studio. And from the ceiling, there was a winch, so you could winch your bass drum up and your amps up instead of carrying them up one flight of stairs for some reason. And you had to go and see Dave from Eddie and the Hot Rods and get your winch certificate so you could use them. And obviously, as soon as he'd let you in, he'd go out and then it'd be like, right, let's winch each other up. And it was just pretending we were fucking firemen just going up and down on the winch. But yeah, you also get fined £1 if you fucked around with the winch without a certificate given to you by Dave. Fucking hell. But the singer died, didn't he? I think the singer died about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
The Hot Rods. And yeah, any excuse for us to sort of dig that out and play that out of toothbrush again because it is a perfect pop record. Yeah, it's an absolute cracker. That's a wonderful shout. Okay, last track. This is the song that you think many people may not know that you would like them to hear, please, Scott.
Yeah, so it's Matt Dayton, Villager. Yeah. Is the track actually called Villager? I think it is called Villager. It's the third track on his first solo album.
So,
I mean, we've already just briefly chatted about him, but I just think is it called Villager? Where's the album? Yeah, it's called Villager.
The whole documentary is based around the fact that he is this, I think in years to come, he will become the next Nick Drake that no one knew about when it was happening. And now all of a sudden everyone's going, oh my God, listen to this. So can you sort of paint people a bit of a picture that may not know who Matt Dayton is as to why they should go and check him out?
I mean, my introduction to him was Mother Earth, and he was like, I don't know. I mean, I dressed like him already, but like because he had like a handlebar moustache, and his and Mother Earth were a bit like their first album was like had like cover of Santana Soul Sacrifice. It was very 60s, and I was well into the 60s in like early 90s, mid 90s, and so it was just a really good jazz sort of funk kind of rock and roll band, like good guitar solos, like they're an insanely good band. Like I mean, the bass player, me and my mate used to just be like watch the bass player, like look how fucking good he is, and like a Hammond organ, like just unbelievable 60s band.
They look great as well, didn't they?
They all look so good. Yeah. So I used to just see him as much as I possibly can, but then like, yeah. I don't know how even I can't even remember how you found out about things back then, but like I think you just went to record shops, didn't you? Can't remember reading about it in the NME. I think a mate told me, he's anyway brought out this solo album, which is the opposite of like funk and soul kind of stuff, but it's just this most beautiful, like textured acoustic kind of album with like strings and amazing harmonies, and like the songs are just like I don't know. It's just a perfect album, like beautiful songs. And I think I was playing the guitar then, And like most things, you can be there's certain albums where I can be like, oh, I can get my head around how they made that. I don't understand that album. Like, I don't understand how you can write songs like that or even play the guitar like that. I just think he's such a wonderful musician and like, yeah. And from that documentary, just a wonderful sort of troubled geezer, really.
Yeah. Because
Um,
if I remember rightly, he was in Oasis for about a week, wasn't he?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. They called him up when Noel left or something, didn't they?
hmm,
Because I think that come from he played with Paul Weller or something, and
yeah,
but when I spoke to him at that jazz cafe thing, I think he just got stiffed basically by record labels, um, and yeah, because the one he made after Villager as well, which I can't remember the name of that. I've got them all on vinyl. I can't remember what they're called. The first few. Oh, You Are the Healer. That is an absolute banger as well. That album and The Common Good. Yeah, well they're all just so good. But yeah, I think he just got stiffed by record labels, and I don't know, maybe fell out of. I mean, it happens, doesn't it?
yeah,
Happens to
yeah.
people.
I'm so
So I mean,
glad you chose Matt Dayton for this question, like because
yeah,
never is there anyone that fits this question better than Matt Dayton. Like,
yeah, I know, and there is like a certain romanticism for being like a cult artist, but
don't pay
and
the
from that
bills.
docu, no, exactly. It sounds like he's. And from that documentary, it looks like he's doing all right, living somewhere
Yeah,
in Wales, and he looked like he had a nice house. And people like respect him, didn't they? Like the
yeah,
people in that documentary, like people love him. And I think that it says a lot. So I hope I hope he does all right. I had tickets to go and see him at Union Chapel. I think was it last, but I couldn't make it. Can't remember why. Probably something to do with the kids. But yeah, I was absolutely gutted. I haven't seen him. I haven't seen him since 2007. So hopefully he'll tour again.
yeah. Well, look, we spent a lot of time talking about other people's music. What's happening with your music?
Um, yeah, it's been going really well, Stu. Like, yeah, people come to the shows. Like, I've yeah, I did a tour in June, 2 weeks, and like most of them, well, a lot of them were sold out. Um, London was sold out, Brighton was sold out. Yeah, word's spreading. Like, because I didn't do it for like 10 years because I was kind of mad, about 8 years, and then I just started doing it again because I wanted to and didn't expect anything, didn't expect a record deal or to be on Six Music or anything like that, and that's all sort of happened. Like all these little dreams, like being in Mojo, all these little things, and I think it's good to happen at an older age when like I thought it was all dead. Um, yeah, so it's all good really. It's got an album out now, Disneyland in Dagenham. Um, so yeah, we're just sort of rinsing that for all it's worth at the moment. I'm going to making a weird video next week for a different song. Um, got an agent now, so yeah, he's booking another tour for the autumn, I think. Yeah, but I'm just pushing on really, because I write a lot of tunes, so I'm recording another album in September and just gonna keep putting them out. And yeah, I write a lot of different stuff, like some sort of weird ballads and all that, and I like writing them, but people just really like the weird stories. So I'm just writing loads of them, really. I've got a song called Cars, which just is loads of stories of old cars I've had. Um, yeah, and I don't know if I've got a boat, I've got a fucking boat is going to end up on the album, but
Hope so.
I've got another one called I'm going to smash up your electric car. I'm not sure if that's going to make it. It sounds a bit bitter. It's sort of about a collection of people that live down my road that have got electric cars, and they all just seem a bit. I'm not against electric. I would probably have
Yeah.
one if I could afford it. But yeah, it's sort of talking about people who do the school run in them, and they just got they're all fucking handsome and they got really nice hair, and
Mm,
like their kids can fucking play the piano and they're only 7. And
yeah.
I was like, yeah, I can fucking smash up your electric car.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's
Uh,
something that I don't know. I think like when you see people plugging in their electric car, it's like they're literally ejaculating. They're so smug. They've literally ejaculated. Like there's something.
Mm,
There's an added smugness to people that drive them cars that they've upgraded from their Range Rover and they've now got an electric car
mm,
just for the school run. And
mm.
yeah, I'm with you. If you do decide to go and smash it up, then give us a shout, mate. I'll come down.
I've got the opposite of an electric car. I've got a 1989 Volvo Estate. Um, fucking,
I had a Volvo Estate, and it was that my Volvo Estate was the first car I got. Up until then, I had like really shitty old Escorts and Fiestas, and my dad uh, had a nice Volvo, but then he bought this other one. I don't know why. That just sat on the drive, and then when my car died, as cars do when you're 17, 18, 19, he went, "Do you want that Volvo?" And I was like, "What?" And it was one of them really old box shaped ones, like from like probably the sort of mid 80s. I remember
yeah.
getting in it, and it had leather seats, and it had electric wind
Wow.
mirrors, and I remember just thinking,
Wow.
I've made it. Like, I mean, it was
Wow.
the uncoolest car you could ever drive. Like, people were just like, "Why is that young kid driving like an old man's car?" But I remember, I remember undoing the electric. It had power steering. I'd never had power steering before. You know, obviously, I was doing 3 point turns in these old Escorts, like yanking the wheel round, and all of a sudden, I could just. Oh, it was incredible. I remember blaring straight out of Compton. Uh, I
God.
had the NWA tape in my Volvo Estate, just driving around with windows open, like thinking because I'd leather seats, I was some kind of like in South Central, you know, just driving around Tilbury and in essentially my dad's car. Yeah, fucking hell.
I was in Tilbury not that long ago.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. It's fucking, they ain't gentrified that, have they?
Not yet, not yet. And it's moving along the Thames, and I've been kind of watching where I've been putting my club nights over the years, and they're slowly moving further and further up the Thames. And I think it's only a matter of like years before I've dropped some fucking vegan crunk night in like Tilbury, and it's just going to go off. Yeah,
I was quite happy it was still shit though, because I was doing the video for Disneyland in Dagenham,
yeah,
and we went to Raynham where my stepdad used to work, and because the song's about this high rise where I used to buy acid and speed, and it was
mm.
gone, and they planted loads of trees, and I was just like, oh, this is nowhere near as shit as it used to be. Like, what the fuck?
Let's go to
Um,
Tilbury.
yeah, so and I do mean because the song sort of the whole, I don't know if you've heard it, but it just mentions the
Mm.
A13 basically. Um, and so it went to me and my sister was helping me. I was dressed up in like a dog outfit, and so I was like, "Let's go to Tilbury. That must still be shit." And yeah,
It is.
yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah,
wonderful. Scott, if people want to find out about, upcoming, tour dates when that tour gets announced, any releases and if they want to access anything of, from your creative cupboard to date, where's the best place to keep up with all things you?
God knows. In Instagram, really, Scott Laverne, Lavene. Yeah, I'm doing a tour in the autumn, going to some towns I've never been to. Because I normally play the same sort of major cities. We're going to like Chester and
Right.
Halifax.
Nice.
Yeah, well, there's loads of good independent My agent's like a really passionate for the independent old school venues, and there's just loads of them about, and like Swansea and place. But I'm doing two full band shows as well in December, December the 3rd and 4th, December the 3rd in Reading, December the 4th in London. One in London is the old 12 Bar Club in Denmark Street.
Nice.
But yeah, I think they've done it up. It's like a 250, 300 capacity venue now. But yeah,
Oh, wicked.
it's called the Third. Anyway, yeah. Instagram, I normally post about that sort of stuff, and yeah, crack on.
Well, Scott, if it's okay with you, when this episode drops, we'll tag you in it on Instagram. So if people aren't following you already, then they
Yeah,
can go and give you a follow and
yeah,
check
yeah,
out and keep up the speed with you. If that's okay.
yeah. Good man.
Wonderful, Scott. It's been an absolute delight.
Yeah.
talking to you today.
Yeah,
Thank you
likewise.
so much, mate. And
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
absolute pleasure. I'm going to press stop, but don't go anywhere.
All right, mate.